Tom Jones looks nothing like his old self, try not to look away. My first guest tonight is one of the most popular performers in the entire world. It's quite a pleasure to welcome this man. Tom Jones used to make women faint just by walking on stage. Tight shirts, jet black hair, a jaw that looked carved out of stone. That was the man the world knew for decades. But recent photos tell a different story. The black hair is gone. The face has changed in ways that go far beyond aging. Surgeons warned him to stop years ago. One doctor told him his face could collapse if he kept going. At 85, Tom Jones has said publicly he would only consider stopping performing if his voice failed him. He still fills rooms across the world. But the man on that stage looks nothing like the man who once owned Las Vegas. And the reason why goes far deeper than time. ARTVOIC. Tom Jones entered the world on June 7, 1940, at 57, Kingsland Terrace in Treforest, near Pontypridd in South Wales. The world around him was hard from the very beginning. This was coal country. The air carried smoke. The streets were lined with cramped terrace houses, and life moved to the rhythm of the pits. His father, Thomas Woodward Sr., worked long and dangerous days in the mines just to keep food on the table. In that place, boys were not expected to dream about stages, spotlights, or screaming crowds. They were expected to grow up, go underground, and work. Even as a child, he was drawn toward music. At family gatherings, weddings, and church events, people would call him forward to sing. He did it again and again, even while growing up in a culture where men were judged by toughness and labor. At school, other boys mocked him for it. Still, the voice kept coming out. Then childhood turned harsh in a different way. When Tom was 12, doctors told him he had tuberculosis. He was put on strict bed rest for nearly 2 years. For a boy full of energy, it felt like a prison. He later called it the worst time of his life. Yet that same miserable silence pushed music deeper into him. He listened to the radio constantly. Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole, jazz singers rich with control and feeling. All of it poured into him while he lay still. Without knowing it, he was training his ear, learning breath, tone, and emotion while the rest of the world thought he was only a sick boy in bed. By the time he was 15, he walked away from formal education and took manual jobs, including factory work as a glove cutter in Pontypridd's leather trade. He would rather be mocked than let factory life swallow the dream whole. And while that dream was still fragile, adult life came at him fast. Tom married his childhood sweetheart, Melinda Rose Trenchard, known as Linda, on March 2, 1957, when they were both only 16. She was already pregnant. Their son Mark was born on April 11, 1957. So before he had even become a man in the eyes of most people, he was already a husband and a father, singing in local pubs around Pontypridd for spare change. Their bond had deep roots. Part of their early romance played out through a red phone box at the end of Linda's Street. Years later, after success had taken him far from Wales, Tom had that phone box shipped to his Los Angeles home in the 1970s and fitted with a working phone, a gesture that revealed how much of his heart still lived in those earlier days. Linda wanted more children, but after a miscarriage, she was left unable to have any more. Decades later, their only son Mark would become Tom's manager, linking the family story directly to the machinery of the star's career. Then fame arrived, and with it came reinvention. When Tom broke through in 1965 with It's Not Unusual, manager Gordon Mills built an image rather than selling the truth. He reshaped Tom into a rugged bachelor from the coal pits, hiding the reality that Tom was already a 24-year-old married father. The strategy worked so powerfully that women threw underwear at him on stage, and the image of Tom Jones as a sex symbol took hold with astonishing force. What made the image easier to sustain was Linda's own distance from public life. She suffered from severe agoraphobia, which meant she rarely appeared at concerts or events. As his fame grew, she stayed back while he moved between London, New York, Las Vegas, and Hollywood. Tom later admitted that during the height of his fame, especially from 1965 to 1985, his offstage life was as wild as the frenzy audiences witnessed on stage. One scandal cut deeper than the others. In 1974, photos of Tom kissing 19-year-old newly crowned Miss World Marjorie Wallace on a beach in Barbados exploded across newspapers worldwide. Miss World organizers stripped Marjorie of her crown. When Linda saw those photos, the silence between them broke. Tom recalled that she punched him in the jaw and demanded it end if their marriage was going to survive. Yet the personal chaos did not slow the professional machine. Tom recorded the theme for the James Bond film Thunderball and sang What's New Pussycat for the Woody Allen comedy, all within the same breakthrough year of 1965. He won the Grammy for Best New Artist in 1966. On June 7, 1967, his 27th birthday, he debuted at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, earning $25,000 a week in a sold-out run. His television variety show, This Is Tom Jones, launched in January 1969 and pulled around 20 million viewers in the United States, winning an Emmy that same year. The guest list read like a who's who of pop culture: Elvis Presley, Stevie Wonder, Janis Joplin, Mama Cass Elliot. Then in December 1987, a brief encounter with a young model named Catherine Berkery in New York led to a secret Tom spent years trying to bury. When she told him she was pregnant, he hired lawyers and denied knowing her. In 1989, she took him to Manhattan Family Court. A DNA test showed a 99.76% probability that Tom was the father, and the judge confirmed paternity. He settled out of court, paid child support for 18 years, but refused to see the baby. It was not until 2008 that he publicly acknowledged his son Jonathan, nearly 2 decades after the DNA test, and even then, his words carried more distance than warmth. Into the 2020s, Jonathan was still waiting for a connection that never came, building his own music career while chasing a bond his father never offered. Then came a turn almost nobody expected. In 1988, his electronic collaboration with Art of Noise on a cover of Prince's Kiss exploded into the top 5 in the UK and sold over 500,000 copies worldwide. At 48, a singer many had already written off felt suddenly fresh to a new MTV generation. In 1999, the album Reload went even further, selling more than 4 million copies worldwide, reaching number 1 in the UK, and producing the massive hit Sex Bomb with Mousse T. At 59, Tom Jones was outperforming artists half his age. Television gave him yet another rebirth. In March 2012, at 71 years old, Tom Jones joined The Voice UK as a coach. The debut episode drew more than 8.4 million viewers, peaking at 9.6 million. He became the first coach with 3 winning acts across 10 seasons. When he was abruptly dropped in 2016, told only a day before his replacement was announced, ratings slipped without him, which only confirmed how much his presence mattered. His eventual return felt like the show correcting a mistake. Through all of it, Tom had made certain choices about how he presented himself to the world. His goatee was not just a style decision. He grew it to hide a scar left after fat had been removed from under his chin. Over time, that dark beard became one of his trademarks, and most people never knew it had started as a way to cover the trace of surgery. Then doctors warned him to stop. A Beverly Hills plastic surgeon refused to do further work around his eyes, telling him directly that his face could collapse if he kept going. Tom said the message was clear. He needed to back off. In 2009, at 68, he let the jet black hair dye go entirely, stepping out in Los Angeles with a full head of white and gray. Fans responded with warmth rather than shock, telling him he looked distinguished rather than old. He said he was surprised by how positive it was. After Linda died in April 2016 at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles after 59 years of marriage, Tom said grief hit him harder than anything the career had thrown at him. He saw a grief counselor. He moved out of their Los Angeles home and back to London, partly because Linda had always wanted to return, and partly because staying there without her had become unbearable. Family helped pull him through, especially Mark and his grandchildren. And still, the performances kept coming. Now in 2026, Tom Jones is undertaking his Come Gather Round European tour, an extensive run that sweeps through Germany, Poland, across the UK, and into Ireland, where he will perform at a brand new outdoor venue at Palmerstown House Estate in Kildare and at Custom House Square in Belfast in August. He is not just playing these venues. At Palmerstown House, he is opening it. A living legend asked to launch an entirely new concert series. Concert reviewers who caught his 2025 summer shows noted that his voice still carries a raw power that defies explanation, and that when he launches into sex bomb or it's not unusual, hardly anyone stays in their seats. Art voice +2. The face on that stage is softer and more lined now. The jawline less sharp. The old surgeries, the decades of touring, the grief, the guilt, all of it shows in one way or another. He still carries himself with dignity. But the roaring icon of the 1960s has become something quieter and more weathered. What has not changed is the reason people still show up. Not nostalgia, exactly. Something more honest than that. The working-class boy from Trayforest who was told to go underground instead of chasing a dream and didn't is still standing. Still filling rooms. Still singing like he means it. And at 85, that alone is a kind of miracle.